Hi there, welcome to Box Spread. There is a big fight happening on Friday the 20th of January, so it's pretty soon. A very exciting fight in my eyes, one for the pure boxing fan. We've got Rico Ramos, he's unbeaten, 20-0, an orthodox fighter, going up against a southpaw, Guillermo Rigondeaux, the Cuban, who is also unbeaten, he's 8-0. This fight is for the WBA World Super Bantamweight title. I like both of these guys, both really good boxers in my eyes, and my prediction for this fight is actually a victory for Guillermo Rigondeaux by stoppage, and I think it's going to be around the middle part of the fight. Let's just talk a bit about Rico Ramos. I picked him over Shimoda in his last fight, but to be honest, I think everyone will agree he didn't look too good in that fight. A lot of people had him behind in that fight and thought he was basically getting beaten by Shimoda. But let's not forget that Shimoda is a very good fighter. He's a very good boxer, and he is also the type of boxer. He's not a knockout artist. He's not the type of guy who's going to come in there and try and knock you out. But he's the type of guy who is willing to go 12 rounds and will outbox you. He has a good record of going the distance and beating guys on points. So you know he is a good fighter out of a good stable. He's got a couple of other Japanese fighters who fight out of the same stable as him, who are rather successful. So you know, Shimoda was no slouch himself, and he made Ramos look bad. But then, as we know, towards the middle part of the fight, I think it was his 7th or 8th round, Ramos caught him with a lovely left hook, a short left hook, and he knocked him out. So Ramos there was showing that he has the power to stop guys. Now the problem for me in that fight for Ramos is a similar problem that I have outlined with Amir Khan, in the fact that he ran too much. It's good to have movement and try to frustrate your opponent, but there is a type of movement where you just start to run too much and you invite pressure. And I think that gives the upper hand onto a fighter who likes to be on the front foot, or a decent boxer like Shimoda. You know, so that was the problem really for Rico Ramos. He was just a bit too much on the back foot, and he wasn't doing enough work and giving enough volume and standing his ground enough. He was giving Shimoda the centre of the ring, and he was basically just being outworked. Now, on the plus side, Ramos has quick hands, he has some good footwork, he has good movement, he is rather slick, and he's an accurate puncher, I feel. And I think, you know, Ramos needs to use his accurate punches in this one to try and get shots off against another accurate puncher in Rigondeaux. He's going to have to be at his best, you know, to try and get some points on the board. He needs to circle to the left in this fight. Guillermo Rigondeaux has an outstanding left hand. It is vicious. His left hand can stop you and end the fight very quickly. Rico Ramos needs to circle to his left to come away from Rigondeaux's left hand from that southpaw stance. Let me just quickly demonstrate what I mean. If I'm Guillermo Rigondeaux, I'm in the southpaw stance, so I'm facing you like this. So my right hand's jabbing, yeah, and then I'm coming through my powerful left hand. Now, you know, you want to go this way, circle this way, so you're going with my punch, away from my punch. If you're circling this way and I catch you, comes together. That's basically what the basics are around that. I think Ramos it's absolutely essential that he maintains circling to the left as much as possible in this fight to keep away from that power hand. Let's talk about Rigondeaux. He is widely regarded as one of the best amateur fighters ever. He has almost 400 amateur fights under his belt, and he only lost 12. I think his last loss came in around 2003. He won 2 Olympic gold medals at bantamweight. In year 2000 he won at Sydney, and he won a gold then 4 years later in Athens 2004. Now, of course, the amateur game is different from the professional game, but whereas normally you would think that a guy like Rico Ramos, who's had 20 fights, has more experience and better experience than Rigondeaux, who's only had 8 professional fights. It is true that in the professional ranks, Rico Ramos has had more experience, but because of Guillermo Rigondeaux's vast experience in the ring, I mean, compared to Rico Ramos's amateur career, Ramos didn't have such a good amateur career. You know, Guillermo Rigondeaux is comfortable in the ring, and he is basically seen and fought against pretty much every style, I guess, even if it was as an amateur. And he has looked very impressive as a professional. You can tell he's comfortable in the ring. He's not daunted or jaded by the fact that he hasn't got a head guard yet, and you know, it's governed by different rules. He's adapted to this now, and I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. He is obviously very good technically. Coming from an amateur background, a lot of the Cuban fighters now we're seeing, might I say thankfully, turning into the professional game, which hasn't been the case throughout history. I think it's a very good thing we're seeing Cuban fighters coming through, because now we actually get to see how they do in the professional ranks compared to the amateur pedigree that they have. He's obviously very good technically. He's got a good sound base there. He's also quick. He's got decent movement. He's accurate with his punches. He's a devastating body puncher. That's a clear fact. He is absolutely devastating to the body. Rico Ramos needs to defend that body in this fight, because Guillermo Rigondeaux is a masterful body puncher, and when he catches you there, it can be good night. It can be all over. You're not coming back. You're not recovering. He throws also a good range of punches. You know, what doesn't work for Rico Ramos in this fight for me is the fact that he allows the opponent too often to get the centre of the ring, in my opinion, and Guillermo Rigondeaux likes to fight on the front foot. He likes to dictate the pace from the centre of the ring, and he likes to, from there, build a base where he can get you under pressure and then go in and try and finish you. And if he ends up getting Rico Ramos on the ropes, it could be all over, because he throws a good range of punches. He's accurate, and he'll just take you out to the body, upstairs. Doesn't matter. I think, you know, traditionally we say that orthodox fighters struggle with southpaws. This may be the case in this one. You know, take nothing away from Rico Ramos. He needs to be taken seriously in this fight because he's a very good fighter. He's a good boxer. He's slick. He's quick. I do rate him. I think he's a good boxer. I just think, unfortunately, he's coming up against a extremely good boxer in this one. You know, Guillermo Rigondeaux is touted by many to be on the way to great things, possibly. You know, with such a good amateur pedigree and being so impressive in his first, 8 professional fights, he is looking like he's gonna, dominate for a while. He's looking like he's gonna be difficult to beat. One thing I will say, Ramos could try and do. He's got 2 options really. I think he's either going to have to try and hold his own and hold the centre of the ring, push forward a little bit, and try and then. I think that it would be possible to try and push Rigondeaux back a little bit and say, I'm going to take my share of the ring too, and then try and sort of use his speed and accurate punches to throw Guillermo Rigondeaux off a bit, and then try and pick up some volume and pick up some points, particularly early on. If he starts fast, he can try and do this. I don't think it's the best option because Rigondeaux can counter punch, and it's going to be difficult for Ramos, in my opinion, to try and do something like that when it's not, for me, not his natural game. I think what Ramos needs to do is to keep circling to the left, keep the lateral movement, a lot of lateral movement, particularly away from that power left hand. He needs to protect the body. He needs to try and frustrate Rigondeaux. And Rigondeaux sometimes, although this might surprise you, but although he's got a good amateur pedigree, and for the most part, he keeps his guard up when he's throwing punches. Sometimes when he comes in for a combination, naturally he's left open a bit. So what Ramos is good, I think Ramos can counter punch as well, and Ramos needs to look to try and counter punch Rigondeaux. If Rigondeaux comes in, and Ramos can like sort of try and slip some punches, which is obviously difficult to do, but if you can try and slip some punches, step back and then come back quickly with some speed. He needs to use his speed going forwards and backwards to try and jump back in defence away from the shots, and then when Rigondeaux maybe loses his guard for a second, Ramos can come back in with some quick counters, some quick combinations, which he's capable of doing. He can counterpunch. He did it against Shimoda. He can throw powerful short hands. He can do that. The trouble you have with counterpunching Rigondeaux is a lot of the punches he throws are body punches, and it's difficult to counterpunch a body punch, because if they're going for your head, if I'm going for your head here, headhunting you, you can slip my punch, yeah? So for example, if I'm southpaw and I'm jabbing you, yeah, and say I come over even with a to try and get you on my left, yeah, you can try and slip under me and come through with the right, that type of thing. If I'm headhunting, it's easy to slip under the punches, yeah. When it's coming towards the body, particularly with a guy who's got such devastating body punching power as Rigondeaux, where are you going to go? You step to the side, but there's much more chance of getting caught. That's why body punching is such a good art to perfect in boxing, and it's neglected by too many boxers. It's more difficult to get away and counter punch because you're too busy blocking your body. What are you going to do? You can't slip under the punches, you can't jump over the punches. They're in the middle of your body. It's far more difficult to get away from. I just think this is Rigondeaux's to win. I think I'm really looking forward to it because it's two really good boxers in the ring. And when it was first announced, I was sort of, this is a bit of a toss-up for me. I really have to think about who's going to do this because I like Ramos and I like Rigondeaux. I like them both. But then the longer I thought about it and studied a few tapes, I've only come to the conclusion that Rigondeaux should win this fight and he should catch up with Ramos and stop him. But I think it'll be a good fight nevertheless. But I'm looking for Rigondeaux to win the title. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this video. Please let me know what you guys think. Am I missing things? Am I missing something? What do you think Rico Ramos can employ in this fight? What tactics should he be employing to actually get to Rigondeaux, pick up the points? Do you think he can manage to stop Rigondeaux? How can he trouble him? From that orthodox stance. Because Rigondeaux is going to have to respect him as well, because Ramos has power, as we've seen, and he can box. He's got quick hands, he's got power, but I just think Rigondeaux has a more all-rounded, better boxing game, and I think the body punching aspect is going to play a big part. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there because it's going on a bit. Please let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching as always. I do appreciate it that you watch my videos and take an interest. Yeah, please let me know what you guys think. Thanks for tuning in.